This episode of Made in America is brought to you by America's Inventor League and Home Talk USA. Home Talk is a proud member of the King's Broadcasting Network, which has been bringing you the best in home-based innovation since 1998.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us for this episode of Made in America.
This segment is brought to you by the law offices of R.P. Baraska. RPB law offices have been bringing corporate-level legal expertise to the independent inventor community for more than 20 years. For all your inventing legal needs, trust rpblawoffices.com.
Thank you so much for being with us for this Made in America, where we talk about products that are manufactured right here in the USA. And we know that sometimes those products are going to be a little bit more expensive, but you know what? The quality is so much better. So instead of having to buy a new one every 6 months, it's going to last you for a decade or more. And my industry expert, Made in America expert, and a lot of other experts is Mike Ryan. And he is working with a product that's got a little bit different story twist than our past guests have had. But I want to let you know that this segment is brought to you by Noah McNeely and Product Quick Start. And if you are out there and you have got some kind of manufacturing that needs to be done or a prototype that needs to be done, Product Quick Start, that's where you go. Noah McNeely, he's the man. They've told me that he walks on water, and he's so gracious about it. So, Mike, thanks for being with us today. And,
thank you for having me.
Your story's a little bit different because you were not the inventor. You took over and leveraged the product for the inventor. So tell everybody, kind of some of the history about that, because it's a little bit different story.
Yeah, the original Safety Siphon has been around since 1977. We're going on our 49th year this year. I haven't owned or ran the company since then. About a third of the time, I ran the company prior to acquiring it. Today, it started as a one SKU item. They sold a 6-foot half-inch siphon. Now we turn into 22 SKUs. The original Safety Siphon is literally known worldwide as the world's best siphon. It's 100% made in USA. And as long as I own the company, we acquired it back in 2015, and it's done an incredible job for us and our partners. And as long as I own the company, it will always be 100% USA made.
Awesome. I've got one. You sent one to me. Thank you very much, because you know what? We live out here in the hills, and we're siphoning gas all the time. So thank you very, very much. And what was the inventor doing? How did he get it teed up, and how did you meet this inventor?
Well, actually, the original inventor was from Australia. It's called Siphon Bait. Back in 1967, believe it or not, the guy had over 200 inventions. Never made one penny on any of them. 10 years later, after he essentially ran out of money, a guy from Ohio went over to Australia, picked one item, and picked the siphons. He came to the United States. 10 years later, he was a multimillionaire. Then he sold the company to George Hardwick out of Texas. George had it for about 30 years. And I acquired back in 2012. George and I met 3 years later after help running the company. I ended up being his larger distributor. And then 2015, we officially bought him out and since owned it since.
So how do you do it? What's your leverage? How do you get it from, back then when you started doing this, there was no social media. Yeah. So it was feet on the ground going and talking to people, right?
Yes, the original Safety Siphon is it's a safety item. And one nice thing about we have is that there are many other knockoffs that are out in the market, and they're more disposable. You get them at without mentioning some other national brands. They all sell the knockoff ones. And what we sell it for is that our approach is that we're not just focusing on we're not focused at all about competing against the knockoffs, because essentially we do a lot of trade shows. We've done, over the years, between me, my distributors, and so forth, we've done hundreds of trade shows. Word's out there that people will say, hey, I don't want the knockoff one, I want the original Safety Siphon. So our strategy there was that when I first took the company over, we took the materials, we upgraded our copper, we upgraded our marble, the springs. Our hoses used to be recycled hose. We don't use that anymore. What we did, we decided that instead of being one of the, you're either part of the group or you want to be the big dog. And we decided that if we're going to sell this as the world's best siphon, then we have to have the world's best products. And we changed our hoses from a traditional hose to a 100% pure virgin grade material that you can use it for food, you can use it for fuel. It just lasts a lot longer. And it's the only product out there that we do a lifetime warranty on it, on our check valves.
Amazing. So what, over the years, what's been the biggest challenge?
Well, it's we had to make a decision. When I first started, the original owners were involved in a lot of truck stops, a lot of boating companies and all that. So we decided that instead of us being Pronto Launch is involved in a lot of other businesses, but this one, the original Safety Siphon, it became really clear, instead of us doing business with 400 or 500 truck stops, we work with two of the major players in the industry, in the trucking industry and off-roading industry, American Expedition and companies like that. Or they're the two major players in the industry. We decided that it's better to work with them because they are working with hundreds of the off-roading companies, the trucking companies, the boating companies. So it allowed us a couple of things. It allowed us to put together a great product into the industry leaders, knowing that down the road, I'm going to be adding other products. So if there's a client that says, hey, I got a product in the trucking industry, farming industry, we know the major players that we can get their products in there as well. So it was not only just a short-term game plan, but also a long-term game plan as well.
So you went then, and part of this is helping, the people out there who've got products figure out the best way to leverage connections. So what you did was not just go from store to store, but you went and looked for the big players who would then sell to a whole bunch of places.
Yes, the trade show business has been a huge godsend to us. We've have hundreds of people take the original Safety Siphon and sell for all kind of trade shows, boating shows, trucking shows, RV shows, hot tub shows, state fairs, county fairs. There's so many products out there. What's nice about the original Safety Siphon is that everyone's transferring something. The other challenge we had was that when I first started, it was known as a mechanic's tool. And I quickly realized this isn't just for mechanics. Women love this product too. The days of just men cutting grass, a lot of women cut grass. The day of women only doing gardening, men like doing gardening. So, and then we focused on, now my dad, when he got into the 70s, 80s, it was hard for him to lift 5-gallon gas cans. So we started going after that market. And then kids, farmers, they're constantly transferring with their RVs and four-wheelers and dirt bikes. So we just expanded a market, and we became known as a company not just going after the auto industry, but with their auto, trucking, farming, RV. We go out to the airplane industry. Anyone who has a car, boat, tractor, riding mower, get water off a pool cover, spa, jacuzzi, aquarium. It just expanded so many markets that it just reached not only just guys, but women too.
Yeah. So back in the day, all right, when you were first starting to work with this and the product, and you're right, it was kind of, people think of siphoning gas out of a car. And then you start looking at where else can this go? And that's what really gives a product then, a boost in the marketplace, is that you've got to look beyond just what you see as the product manager, the creator, and whatever. Who did that for you? Where was the impetus in saying, okay, we can do more than just this?
I love to sit here and tell you that all these 99% of these brilliant genius mastermind my brain came from me, but a lot of it came from input I got from the trade show industry. Customers would say, hey, you know what? I do wine, I do bottling. And well, we couldn't sell them a product that wasn't food grade safe. So we came up with a hose that was food grade safe. Now the fifth biggest market of us is people who make homemade brews, wine. And it just, there's so many markets. People are taking water off above ground poles. We can connect, we have connectors connected to a garden hose. It's a great way to get water from pole covers. So we got into that market, and by doing that, it allowed people to expand their pole covers, because pole covers they rip every 2 or 3 years. By keeping the water off of it, they get longevity it's added to that, and in the long run, it saves them a lot of money. So it's expanded so many markets for us that we got involved not only in the trade show industry, we got into the distribution business, we got into wholesale business. Internationally, we're not just a retail product. I mean, we do business with, instead of working with the big Snap-on guys, we work with a lot of the franchises, and it gives them an opportunity that they can get the product for the same price that the big boys can get. It allows them to be more competitive.
Yeah, and that's understanding the world of it's not just selling. And it's not just marketing. We're going to talk about that when we come back. Everybody, we're going to go pay some bills. We'll be right back with Mike Ryan, the manufacturer, seller, and kingpin of the original Safety Siphon. Stick with us, everybody. We'll be right back.
This segment is brought to you by SearchQuest Patent Search. SearchQuest provides for a comprehensive patent search that searches the entire world and not just the U.S. Patent Office. Make sure that before you spend those big bucks having a patent written, you've done your due diligence by getting a comprehensive patent search. Use SearchQuestPatents.com for all your patent search needs. They scour the world for you.
And thank you so much for being with us for this segment of Made in America. I love doing this show because we get to tell the stories of the products that are made in America. And not everything can be made in America. We know that. But oh, holy cow. When those guys take the steps and they're manufacturing products here in America, I love being able to tell the story. So if you know somebody out there who's manufacturing a product in America and they want to get on and share their story, have them get in touch. Rita Crompton, my name and phone number are all over the internet, because that phone number they're going to etch on the side of my casket. I'm taking it with me. My guest for this segment, and was the guest for the last segment, and will be for the next segment, is Mike Ryan, and he is president and founder of Pronto Launch, which I am very happy to say is kind of the evolution of taking a product from, oh, gee, let's do the original Safety Siphon and make it bigger, better, and broader, and bring in other products, which I think is really cool. But it's all then, you taught me about leveraging. So how did you go from sales to marketing to leveraging the original Safety Siphon?
A lot of times people think of sales as pretty much, B2C. You take a product, you go to a trade show and you sell it directly to a customer, you like it. And every once in a while you run into someone and say, hey, I like your product. Other vendors may be interested in selling it. So that's how we started it. We also reach out to potential clients, but everybody knows to hire a sales rep to go sit there and call to get through the front door. You can only open up so many doors. So it's all about leveraging. So what I did was that once we went out, and for us, the key with us is that before, when people sold the original Safety Siphons, they were selling it everywhere to everybody. You'd go to a trade show, there was 15 people selling it. You would go to a trade show, or you go to anywhere, and there's just so many people marketing. On Amazon, there are many people selling the product on Amazon. So what I did was, in order to get the high quality people, you got to make sure you're treating them right. So what I did was that I leveraged a combination of things. One of the ways we did was that if someone wanted to go to a specific trade show, I only let that person go to just that trade show. You go on Amazon, you'll see there's only one product sold on Amazon. Then what I did was that I had, one time we had probably about 300 or so trucking companies that were selling the original Safety Siphons. And what I did was that I leveraged their contacts and the big boys, such as Automan, who is widely considered one of the big companies out there. I've worked out a deal with them. Instead of me working out with 300 different companies, I'm working with one company. And they also are working with all those companies. Same thing with Rocky Mountain ATV, American Expedition, and the off-roading industry. they work with all the mom and pop places. So what I did was that instead of working with all those, which tied up a lot of time, I actually struck a deal with those guys. And if you look under the Rocky Mountain ATV and American Expedition catalog, you're going to see the original Safety Siphon. So any off-roading mom and pop distributor in any town, when they buy the product, that's where they get it. They're going to get through those two companies, and they'll see their siphons.
So I think for a lot of folks that are marketing product, they miss that piece. They don't, they understand that selling is selling, the product and taking money from somebody, and they understand that they get to the point where they understand that marketing is telling the story about the product. What problem did you solve? How did you solve it? What's the marketing story that entices someone to get their wallet out so that you can make the sale? But I don't think a lot of people really understand the leveraging and how important it is that if you want your product to grow up and take care of you, that you've got to be able to get to that next step. And that's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, that's arguably the number one reason why most companies fail, quite frankly. If you don't have the leveraging, if you don't have the contacts, it doesn't matter how much money you have. We had a guy a couple less than a month ago, sold a company for $350 million. He had all the money in the world. He couldn't get the contacts. He wanted to reach out to a major player, and the guy told him, he said, I wasn't interested in work with him because just because you have the money, you have to have the infrastructure. You have to have how to sell it, market it, ship it, warehouse it. And then that company told him, this was tied into one of my other companies called Pronto Launch. He told them, he says, I'll work with you, but you have to go through Pronto Launch. And leveraging is so many different aspects of it, but at the end of the day, and that's how Pronto Launch existed. So many companies will sit there and they'll call, if they're in the trucking industry and a boating industry, they'll sit there and they'll call 50, 100 people, and they're just hitting their head against the wall. If they do social media, they may have a social media client that's out there, and he may have a million followers. Well, after the 10th time he did that video, guess what? They all saw it. Next thing you know, the sales go down. So leveraging is everything. And that's how the original Safety Siphon is consisting, grows where it is today. And that's how the Pronto Launch became the company it's becoming.
Yes, absolutely. So when you look at the original Safety Siphon, all right, what's going to be next for that? What do you see happening? And I want you, as our listeners there, first of all right, because we're going to have to go and take a break, where do they go to find it? Where's the easiest place for, the guy getting ready to go and work on his lawnmower or work on his car, go and find the original Safety Siphon?
If they go on safetysiphon.net, SAFETYSIPHON.net.
That's great. And that will be posted on our site as well. Ben there looked at it and said, this is the one. All right. So we're going to be right back with Mike Ryan. We're going to talk about some of the surprises that he's had and see what's next for the Safety Siphon. If you are out there and you want to support American made in the USA, all right, go and follow the products and the shows that we're doing that tells you about the different things, whether it's, whether it is something for the kitchen, whether it is something that you would wear or a gadget you need to use in the garage or at work. All right, there are American-made products here where you can actually support made in the USA. So don't overlook it. All right, get out there, support that American-made, and stick with us because we're going to talk more about manufacturing in America and some of the challenges that it raises, because it certainly does. And so, you know what? As we take this break to go and pay some bills, somebody out there, have them get in touch because we would love to have them on this show.
If you're an inventor or an inventor out there who would just like to be able to have a conversation with other inventors, join the Inventors Roundtable. It's free. The meetings are virtual, so you can be anywhere in America and talk to another inventor. And for a lot of folks out there, understanding the process, being able to ask questions, getting good service provider information is critical to the inventing process. So, got questions? Want to join? It's free, inventorsroundtable.org.
thank you so much for being with us for this segment of Made in America. And we want to thank King Broadcasting for making this opportunity available to us. And our fearless leader, Michael King, he will be back with you next week for the Home Talk USA Hour and being able to tell you how to fix things yourself with some of those sponsors. And my guest right now is Mike Ryan, and he is the producer, manufacturer, lead man in not impeccable air. All right, the original Safety Siphon. Let me get it straight here. And Mike, you've been doing this now for what, 2 decades?
Yeah, before I owned bought out the original Safety Siphon, we were in a distribution business. That's how we got started. I mean, we sold things in large quantities. You name it, as long as we could legally buy it, we sold it. Everything from male products to men's products to females products, in the house, outside the house. And it's got bigger and bigger, and it just grew. And that's how we started as a distribution company. And then we went from a distribution company, and then the opportunity came up where the original Safety Siphon, the owner of that, George Hardwick, his wife had Alzheimer's. Very, very, it was almost like a father figure to me. We became very dear friends. And he wanted to, we struck a deal, and I ended up acquiring the company. And it now grew to where we are today. Is not only that, we own other companies, including Pronto Launch.
So over the years, what has been kind of your biggest pleasant surprise in all of this? Because you've been working with products for what, 30 years now?
Oh yeah, longer than that actually. Ironically, I always say a person's greatest strength is their greatest weakness. Well, a person's biggest surprise is sometimes they're also their biggest disappointment as well. It's always amazed me from a vendor standpoint, from a owner standpoint, about how many people will sit there and they'll spend, say, 50 cents only to a month later spend $3 more, not understanding that, hey, if I buy this product once, I don't have to buy it ever again, or I don't have to buy it for the next 5 years. So that's always been a challenging thing to that. And then you're also going to have people who are in our industry. There are people, because the original Safety Siphon is literally known worldwide as the world's best siphon. There are companies, including national brands, that use our pictures, use our photos. They pretend that they're us. You go on some of their catalogs, you'll see our pictures on it, and we deal with it. We've had people on Amazon use our verbatim. They use our verbiage verbatim, pretending that they're actually us. So that's always been a challenge, and that's why we sent out a lot of cease and desist letters over the years.
I can imagine. And I was going to ask you about that. Is like how. The gentleman that was on the Invent America Hour, Don Skaggs, he had done a product, and his goal was always to stay one step ahead of the copycats. And so he goes, my goal is to make it better and faster and to keep improving the generations. And he did until he sold the business. And for a lot of inventors, that has gotten to be really challenging. So, you send us to cease and desist. What if they don't respond?
Oh, we don't pull any punches. We'll sue them. We'll see them in court. It's real simple. We'll see them in court. When we send a letter to someone, your bite has to be your bite. You can't sit there and throw it, because once word has gone out in the industry, and will go on in the industry, that if you try to knock off one of our products, it's going to cost them some money. And we don't, if they sit there and say, okay, I'm sorry, I'll walk away. No. We've had a client that we gave him one opportunity to walk away. He wanted to go on Amazon. He sold 17 products. He claims he did 7 figures on Amazon, is what he told us. And after we gave him a warning, he didn't do it. Now he literally is begging for us, tell me how he has family and this, now, whatever. I said, I gave you plenty of opportunity to get off, and he hasn't been on Amazon since.
Wow. I know that, I talk to inventors all the time, and, we talk about the issue of being infringed on and what are their options. And, there's so many of them out there that, instead of making the plan for it and then going after a relationship like, with Pronto Launch, where there's a company that's got some leverage and can go after them and has fought the battle before and won. They just kind of cave. It's just like it's over, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, that and the other frustrating thing is that there are some of the largest box stores, you name them, that are out there. They're selling products that are they sell it as a food grade safe product, or they sell it as it's a very inexpensive, cheap type of like for instance the original Safety Siphon, the copper. It's copper plated, and they sell the siphons next to the gas can. Clearly, they know that. They've been told that. We've told them that, and they still do that. I mean, I understand people trying to save money, but at the end of the day, you got to take care of the customer. You can't sell something that's unsafe, and there are national box stores that are selling unsafe products that are not that can create a spark very easily. One of them just recently took it out of the section where they sell gas cans, and then put it into the plumbing section. So that was their way of addressing the matter. So it's a problem. And what happens, unfortunately, with these big box stores, you got these buyers. They're here today, gone tomorrow. Their job is to cut cost. And they sit there and their job is to sit there and cut it. Then 2 months later, they're out of a job. They're replacing it. The longevity with the buyers at some of these big box stores are not there. Not too many of them are there 10 years later. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but that's what happens. And it's a nature of the beast. Until these big box stores and they start truly committing it, they say publicly, though I'm committed to USA Made, walk up and down the aisle. China, China, China. All right. Yeah. Until they start practicing what they preach. I know the original Safety Siphon, we can structure a deal where we're almost as competitive as they are. All right. But they don't do it.
Aren't there, to put Made in America on packaging, mm-hmm. they don't check it. I mean, in order to put it on the packaging, they're supposed to make sure it is Made in America, and they don't. They don't care.
Those companies, they don't say it's Made in America. They clearly say it's made in China. But what they do is that this is the other problem that's in the industry. Is that you get these companies out there, you go look at the truck stops, you see 15, 20 of the same products. It's all made in China. It's all the quality is not like it should be. And it's certainly the quality siphons are not like with the original Safety Siphons. And it's a case where, going back to your comment, is that our long-term strategy is to keep on making it be aware that, hey, if you want the good product, high quality products, original Safety Siphon is the way to go. We keep on looking for ways to how to make it better, faster, quicker, instead of sitting trying to do the opposite. We'll never ever compromise quality for safety, and I certainly not compromise quality for price.
Yeah, there are certain products out there that are just kind of set in stone as far as what a siphon does and the original Safety Siphon. It's like the basic hammer. There's lots of things that you can try to get a different piece of the market on a hammer, but everybody still goes back to the same old hammer. It's got a handle on it with something heavy on one end. It's got pretty standard shape to it, has for hundreds of years. And, the siphon is kind of the same thing. When you've got the original Safety Siphon, you've got a product that is going to last you forever.
And unfortunately, what's coming out in the market now, people are seeing these battery operated. All right, these battery operated devices that you can sit there and put a 9-volt battery. Well, I didn't get my PhD in chemistry, but I know enough to know that 9-volt batteries connected with a spark with gas I'm sure wouldn't want to be around there. So I'm not suggesting that they're all unsafe, but I feel more comfortable. The original Safety Siphon, in my opinion, is the safest way to siphon liquids.
Excellent. So everybody, we're going to run off and pay some bills. We will be right back with Mike Ryan and the original Safety Siphon. And I'm going to ask him a trick question as soon as we get back. So stick with us, everybody. We will be right back.
Introducing the amazing new Snoozle. It sprays faster, lasts longer. Ask for Snoozle by name.
So my guest right now is Mike Ryan, the original Safety Siphon. It is sold all over the world, but made in America. And I know that, there's a lot of people that have said, I want to make it in America. I want to make it in America. Easier said than done in some regards. What are some of the challenges that, manufacturing in America present to someone?
A lot of people, the stigma is that I can't get it made in America affordably. Really, what they're saying essentially is that the original Safety Siphon, we sell a lot of them. So there's a lot of companies here in the United States that can make them. You just have to buy them in large quantities. If you want to sit there and buy 5,000 or 10,000 of one particular item, you're not going to be competitive. I know I don't want to speak for manufacturing companies here in the United States, but they'll tell you that one of the stigmas they run into is that, well, we can't be competitive, but you got to give us the orders. If a person wants to buy 100,000, 200,000, or a million white item, they can be competitive. You just got to get there. The problem is, how do you get there? And that's one of the reasons why Pronto Launch, we provide with our abilities to be able to scale things quickly. We have one product right now that we're working with at a company called the Nose Tea. This company wants to buy we had conversations with them. When I say we, the inventor had conversations. They want 10 million of these. They want to make sure they're made here in the United States. You do that kind of volume, you're going to be competitive.
Yeah. And you're right, because the inventors, and the early stage manufacturers, when they're looking at 10,000, is certainly a different price point than a million. But you also get the attention of, the factories. When you call a factory in the U.S. and say, I want to make 1,500 of these, it's like, well, get in line. When you say, I want to make 1 million of these, they say, when?
Yeah, the other advantage you have is that what's nice about making it here in the United States is that you're going to open up doors that you traditionally won't be able to otherwise. There are some companies here in the United States, especially when you're dealing with the government, they won't talk to you unless it's the products here made in the United States. They demand that it's made here in the United States. There are people out there that will buy a product that's made in the United States. So even if there was you lose 5 points, right, you're going to make that up in volume, as long as the margins are there. But again, if the volume's there, it can be done. To suggest that high quality products can't make it in the United States wouldn't be accurate.
Well, I think for a lot of folks, it's the volume thing that they don't really understand. So, we all shop. We're humans, all right? We got to consume products. And so you go to, Walmart, Home Depot, Ace, hardware store, any place. It's the volume that we're missing, because we see a dozen on a shelf. Most of us are not thinking, okay, well, they probably ordered 1 million of these. We're thinking maybe 5,000, 10,000 at a time. But no, these places, when they're ordering this kind of volume, you're talking about 100,000, 1 million. You're talking big numbers.
It can definitely be done. One of the strategies with Pronto Launch is that we already have established contacts in the auto industry, the boating industry, the truck industry. We have distributors literally worldwide. We have wholesalers worldwide. I separate the two. A lot of companies don't do it. Distributors, these are my high volume people. These people are buying tens of thousands, 100,000 at a time. My wholesalers are people that are your local mom and pop stores. They may buy a case or two here. But what's nice about how we structure it is that I have one of the largest distributors in the auto industry. He has 300-400 clients that he works with. So when we go place orders, if there's a new product that we bring on board in the auto industry, I'll reach out to him, and he reaches out to his client, and they'll say, okay, I need 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 of these, couple it with other orders. All of a sudden, we can go place large orders, and now it allows us to compete. The United States companies, they love to do business when they're not going after the small onesies and twosies, the small orders. But boy, you give them nice orders, they can do very well for you.
Yeah, and I think that for a lot of folks, that's kind of, all right, it's made in China, but you can find products that are made in America if you're looking. simply because of the volume. And the quality is going to be better. There is no doubt about it. I can tell when I'm looking for something by price point, whether or not it was made in America or made in China. And when I've gone after things and it's like, I don't want to buy made in China because it's going to break, it's going to fall off. Oh, I had a light that fell off, and broke my sink. So now not only I'm replacing the light, I'm replacing the sink. So when I went in and said, if you cannot sell me something that was made in America, that I can bring back to you if it doesn't work and get my money back, I'm going to be very angry. And he goes, come right this way and let me show you what your options are. Because they're out there if you ask.
One of the other nice things about it too is that when you're working with, you have a client that wants to buy 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 of a particular item, knowing that it is here made in the United States, the turnaround time. You don't have to worry about waiting 2-3 months to ship it here in the United States, ship it to the United States. Nowadays, you don't have to worry about the extra tariffs, that whether it comes and goes. The quality that's involved. There's so many factors in there. And you're also going to find those people that will they want to buy it because it's made in America. My dad grew up in the steel mills. He grew up in the coke plants. He wouldn't buy it. We would never have anything in our house that did not made in USA.
So, well, I appreciate your being with me today, and I know that I will have you back on because we've got lots of things that we can talk about. Everyone, thank you so much for being with us for this episode of Made in America. We will be back next week with another guest, and I already know who it's going to be. So stick with us, everybody. We will be back next week.